Hello to all students. Today, with regard to the topic, the plant anatomy, keep the NCERT textbook with you. Observe in a paragraph wise, the first, second, third paragraph like this, and how my delivery is going to synchronize us with the text, and how it is going to unfold the textual knots, the twist in a question form. In case of very first paragraph, the plant anatomy, we are having one or two key points only. If you observe the larger organism, the plants and animal, it is having structural similarities as well as variations. Even within the plant organs, root, stem and leaf, having different structural variation externally as well as internally. And all organisms are basically made up of cell, group of cells, tissue organized into tissue system, then organs, then it is organism. And internally it is having adaptations. The adaptations which may be thick cuticle, sunken stomata like this, which are internal adaptations. Next, in tissue, the group of cells which are similar or dissimilar, common origin, usually common function, what do you call it, the tissue. The tissue it is composed of all living cells, parenchyma, parenchyma. All dead cells, sclerenchyma and cork. Living and dead cells, xylem, living and dead cell, phloem, living and dead cells. Next, on what basis the tissues which are classified into meristems and permanent tissue? Cells being formed after division, it is capable of division or not. It is divided into meristem and permanent tissue. The meristem, the word itself conveying its sense in case of the Greek, it is divided. A group of immature cells always concerns the division. What do you call it is the meristem. And these meristems having the characters, a group of cells, thin walled, the isodiametric, that means it is cubical, means all the cubical cells which are present. So isodiametry, walls are thin, dense cytoplasm, prominent nucleus that is central, vacuoles are minute or absent. Due to dense cytoplasm, it exhibits active metabolism. So we can expect, that means active metabolism means many number of mitochondria are present. Next, based on the position, apical, intracalary, lateral meristem. Based on origin, primary and secondary meristem. And apical meristem presented apices of the organ, root apex and stem apex, not it is leaf apex. In case of root apex, at extreme tip, it is protected by root cap. But in case of the stem apex, it is protected by leaf primordia. In stem apex, the meristem present distant most region of the axis in contrast to the root apex. And while elongation of the axis, a portion of the shoot apical meristem just behind that constitute axillary bud. So shoot apical meristem responsible for giving axillary bud as well as leaves arises from shoot apical meristem. That axillary bud may be vegetative or floral. If it is vegetative, that is going to give branches, that is the leaves, and floral, that is going to give flowers. So portion of shoot apical meristem that constitute left behind, that constitute axillary bud. So leaves and axillary bud formed by it is formed from it is shoot apical meristem. Next, while elongation of the axis, it become intracalary in case of the grasses. So intracalary meristem is nothing but shoot apical meristem that located between permanent tissues. Later it is converted into permanent tissue. So it is considered to be an ephemeral meristem. The meristem with a limited mitotic cycle is intercalary meristem. And parts grazed by the animals in case of the grasses again recovered because of intracalary meristem. Grasses the grows by apical as well as intercalary meristem. mature monocot grows by it is intercalary meristem. So all apical meristems are primary, but all primary meristems are not apical. If you take intercalary meristem, it is not apical. All primary meristem contribute for the primary growth. Root apical meristem, shoot apical meristem, intercalary meristem contribute for primary growth. So all primary growth contributing meristems are primary meristems only. And if you take intrafascicular cambium, it is a primary meristem, but it is a lateral meristem that contribute for secondary growth. So all primary meristem contribute for primary growth. It is going to be the wrong, because intravascular cambium is a primary meristem that contribute for secondary growth. So what are primary meristem? Root apical meristem, shoot apical meristem, intercalary meristem, intravascular cambium, which are all primary meristem. So primary meristem contribute for primary growth are root apical meristem, shoot apical meristem, intercalary meristem. Primary growth contributing for secondary growth are intrafascicular cambium. That intrafascicular cambium is present between primary xylem and primary phloem within vascular bundle, that is going to give xylem and phloem. What we call it is intrafascicular cambium or fascicular cambium. Next, with regard to this lateral meristem, intrafascicular cambium is a lateral meristem. Interfascicular cambium is also a lateral meristem. Vascular cambium, cork cambium, which are all lateral meristem. So all lateral meristems are contributing for secondary growth. Yes. Secondary growth contributing meristems are lateral only. Along the axis is in case of the woody plant. That means the plant, in a mature plant, is going to have the lateral meristems. And what are the lateral meristems? The one, interfascicular cambium, intrafascicular cambium, collectively what we call vascular cambium. Next, cork cambium formed in case of the cortex. Vascular cambium formed in the stele is also a lateral meristem. And with regard to this position, and it is the origin. And the meristems which divide and going to give the permanent tissue, which loses the power of division temporarily or permanently, what we call permanent tissue, what we call differentiation. So meristems undergo differentiation. During differentiation, it undergo a modification, structural as well as functional modification. It may regain this nucleus and cytoplasm, it is going to be the living cell. If it loses nucleus and cytoplasm, it is going to be the dead. So structural and functional modification to perform specific function. As meristems is not concerned with specific function, it is always concerned with the division. But permanent tissue is concerned with a specific function, which lost the power of the division, which undergoes a modification, structural as well as functional modification, especially to perform specific function. Next, the permanent tissues, it is of simple and complex. The tissue composed of one kind of cells, what do you call the simple tissue? The tissue composed of more than one kind of the cells, what do you call it is the complex tissue. If in case of the simple tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Simple living tissues, parenchyma, collenchyma. Simple dead tissue, sclerenchyma. Simple living mechanical tissue, collenchyma. Simple dead mechanical tissue, sclerenchyma. Mechanical tissues, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Next, in case of the parenchyma, so it is a simple living tissue. It constitutes bulk of the plant body, the major constituent in case of the plant body. The cells which are oval, spherical, round, or it is elongated. If it is compactly present, leaving no intercellular spaces. If it is loosely present, having intercellular spaces. How this parenchyma differs with meristematic cell? by having a large vacuole. Cytoplasm is going to be scanty, that is peripheral. So position of the nucleus and cytoplasm is going to be peripheral. The central it is the vacuole. And walls which is thin walls and it is cellulosic. And this parenchyma exhibit division of labor in case of higher plants. Parenchyma with chloroplast perform photosynthesis. The chlorenchyma in the leaf, what do you call it, is the mesophyll. Parenchyma stores food material, what do you call storage parenchyma. Parenchyma concerned with secretion. So it may concern with secretion and also storage and also photosynthesis. So parenchyma exhibit division of labor in higher plant. Next, cholenchyma. Simple living mechanical tissue is cholenchyma. It gives flexibility and elasticity, the tensile strength. The tissue which provide the tensile strength, that is flexibility, elasticity to the plant pot, is cholenchyma. The helianthus stem bends, but maize stem breaks because the cholenchyma in helianthus makes it so. The sclerenchyma in maize stem makes it so, that is the brittle, it breaks. So cholenchyma is a simple living mechanical tissue present in petioles, pedicels, peduncles, hypodermis of dicot stem. It is absent in underground parts, root as well as the stem. Underground root, underground stem. Why it is absent in underground root and underground stems? Because it is surrounded by hard soil matter. There is no necessity of what it is the cholenchyma. If it is the aerial parts, it requires what it is flexibility and elasticity. So cholenchyma expected in case of aerial parts. So cholenchyma absent in underground parts where it is surrounded by hard soil matter. Next, parenchyma which forms a continuous layer, it is homogeneous or may be present in the form of patches. Very often the cholenchyma having chloroplast perform photosynthesis. So oral function in case of the young stem is physiological function photosynthesis, mechanical function flexibility and elasticity. And walls of the cholenchyma, the cells which are spherical, round or oval, and corners of the cells are thickened with pectin, cellulose, hemicellulose, leaving no intercellular spaces. So corners are unevenly thickened with pectin, cellulose and hemicellulose, leaving no intercellular spaces. Next, sclerenchyma. So simple dead mechanical tissue is sclerenchyma. It provides rigidity, toughness to the plant parts. On basis of the form, origin, development and length, it is divided into fiber and scleret. Fiber, it is elongated sclerenchyma cell is called fiber. It is elongated, devoid of the protoplast. Tips are it is the pointed. And lumen, it is the narrow and it is elongated. And pits, you may expect the few to many pits. So elongated sclerenchyma cell is the fiber which is present in case of the groups. Next, short sclerenchyma cell, what do you call scleret? It is cylindrical, isodiametric, having the pits which are branched canal-like pits and highly it is reduced lumen, very narrow lumen, round narrow lumen. If you observe the diagrammatically in case of the text, the lignin deposited in case of the strata, the layers. So the stratified thickenings of the lignin, branched canal-like pits and lumen, it is much reduced and it is very narrow. And sclerets are present in parts like, if we take the fruit wall in case of the nuts, pulp of the fruit, the guava, pear and sapota, that is acra sapota. And if we take the leaves in case of the tea leaves, in case of the seed coat, that is legumes. So it is having sclerets.